I am Robert M. Price.
I'm Dr. Darrell Ray.
Hi, I'm Karen Lumley-Kerr.
Hi, I'm Aaron Roy.
Hi, I'm Marissa Alexa McCool.
Hi, I'm Jerry DeWitt.
Hi, this is David Smalley from Dogma Debate.
Hi, this is Dan Barker.
Hi, I'm John McComb from The John McComb Show.
Hi, I'm Dr. Drance.
Hi, I'm Richard Carrier.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Tyson.
Hi, I'm Seth Andrews. I'm host of The Thinking Atheist.
Hey guys, I'm Kara Santa Maria.
Hi, I'm David Fitzgerald.
Hi, I'm Brian Keith Dalton.
Hi, this is Tom and Cecil from Cognitive Dissonance, and we took a left of the valley.
We did take a left of the valley.
And a wrong turn in Albuquerque.
And then the left of the valley goes right to a glory hole. It's like right to a glory hole.
I know we shouldn't have to scream that we're atheists. You know, we don't have non-astrologers and all that. But with the religious people taking over the world, I mean, we can either speak up or be pushed into a corner.
I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen. I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith and unsubstantiated claims. That's something to be ashamed. I'm an atheist.
Coming at you under that pile of raked leaves, this is Left of the Valley. My name is Kevin, and I'm not sure if I look this bad naked or it's just a lighting at Walmart. Joining me as usual is the rest of the team that's banned from Walmart. She told the priest to keep his church out of her sex life and she'll stop having sex in his church. Nancy.
Okay.
I'm just going to not drink my coffee until we're done.
And her drug test came back negative. Her dealer has some explaining to do.
Damn straight he does.
Ladies,
pay good
welcome
money
back.
for that shit.
I'm still stuck at trying to picture the lighting at Walmart and what department you're in.
Well, you know, fluorescent lighting doesn't always make everything look good.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
It's quite harsh.
I'm not as young as you used to be either, let's face it. Ladies, welcome back. So today we'll be talking to the folks from Ask an Atheist, and that's going to be in the second half of the show. But first, let's do a little bit of chit-chat. Oh, by the way, for our Canadian listeners, happy Thanksgiving.
That's right.
It's Canadian
coming
Thanksgiving.
Up tomorrow.
And for our American listeners, Canadian Thanksgiving and the American Thanksgiving do not happen at the same time. It's just because in Canada it's colder and they usually do the harvest before, I guess. So when is the American Thanksgiving? It's November somewhere, right?
Third Thursday in November.
Third Thursday in November. Okay. And for us, it's in October, so that's fine. Speaking of Canada, did you guys watch the Leaders' Debate?
No.
Well, we are in we are in election year. The election is happening October 21st, federal election. We're only going to have a 40-day election period, which is a stark difference with our American friends at the South there.
Yes, it is.
Of course, it was a leaders' debate. You had Justin Trudeau, Andrew Scheer of the Conservatives, Elizabeth May, Maxime Bernier of the Extreme Conservatives, and Jasmeet Singh. Jasmine Singh, by the way, he was said to have the best performance.
Yeah, I've heard very good things about him.
Of all the leaders, he's come out like really classy.
Yeah,
really classy.
From the bits that I have seen, he definitely, yeah. Apparently,
of all the people, 32% of the viewers basically said that he had the best performance, and even 25% of the Liberal supporters said that he had the best performance. So,
wow.
But does that mean that's going to make a split to the left?
It's hard to tell. I haven't really watched, but from the news, they're giving everything away. They're giving away tax breaks.
Oh, yes.
They're giving away freebies. You know, they're doing everything but saying, you know, come on to Ottawa and you can have the Houses of Parliament for your party, you know, for the rest of the year. I don't know how many of these promises are going to come to pass, but it's almost funny.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
because somebody said, no, we're going to do child care, you know, and we're going to reduce child care.
I don't understand why this hasn't happened. I mean, my old province of Quebec, child care has been kind of taken care of in a long time. Yeah. I mean, when my daughter was born, this is 20 years ago, right? They already had subsidized governmental child care, and it was $5 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like 24/7. So, and both her and I at the time were working a night shift. So we would pick her up like at 2 a.m. after the shift was done. And she was already asleep. We just had to dress her up and put her in the car, and it was done. It was just like
wow.
that. Yeah. And they were professionals, and they were like nurses and stuff like that. And it was like a great environment.
You need something like that.
Exactly. And when we moved here to BC, I'm looking, my God, the same daycare was going to, by some schmo in his basement, is going to cost me $1,000 a month or something like that.
Right?
God, this is insane.
I mean, if we were in the States, we'd be talking about $1,500 a month, and you'd be on a 6-month waiting list to get in, and they'd have to bring you in for an interview and make sure that your baby has a good disposition so that you move up to the top of the line. And if you think I'm kidding, talk to some of the moms who are having difficulty.
I feel like the crazy thing is I totally believe you 100% seriously.
Yeah.
You know, and this is why this is one of the things I lament about here in the West in BC, because they have a problem, and they always look first for a market solution. They always look for, a solution that's going to create businesses and blah, blah, blah. And then when, of course, they have this little shitty business thing going on there, and when they realize it's not meeting the expectation of people, and then they want to go to subsidizing or government subsidized, but then you're creating, oh my God, you're going to kill all these poor businesses. Well, yeah, the same thing with the liquor in BC. Right? Why does it have to be so complicated?
Because the bureaucrats need to have their fingers in the pie.
It's just nonsense. This is one of the things I actually miss from my old province. We don't have this aggravation for nothing. You want a beer, you just go to a convenience store. It's there. You don't need to go to this government's store that's only open on certain hours and blah blah blah. And it's like,
yeah, but now you can order booze from the liquor store on Skip the Dishes.
Yeah, I guess I can do that. Sometimes government programs work better. The idea that the private hand, invisible hand in the market always has the better way of doing things, that's just not true. It's just not true. And when you have a province that's already doing it, and this is one of the problems we have in the West, we're always looking south to the States to see what's coming up and how we can fix things. No, we need to look how some of our provinces have already solved this. And instead of emulating the States as the way to go, why don't we look to Europe? They're already way more progressive. This is why Quebec is the most progressive province right now, because they don't look to the States. They look to Europe.
Yeah.
And there's a correlation here that's very clear. While BC and Alberta, they look to the States, what's going up, and they try to adopt the same kind of tactics that fail in the States and fail up here. Quebec's looking to Europe, and they're ahead of it.
Yeah, I don't know. BC seems to be like the red tape province in Canada. It just takes a longer, more complicated process to do anything.
Yeah, well,
and more expensive, of course.
Anyway.
At any rate, that's okay.
I saw something that I thought you guys would find very interesting here. You know how on the show we always, we're not really conservative, and we kind of lament the conservative scourge.
Uh-huh.
I saw this letter, which I found on Facebook. It's called A Day in the Life of Joe Conservative. You need to listen to this. So Joe gets up to work and fills his kettle with water to prepare his morning tea. The water is clean because some tree hugger fought for minimum water quality standards. With his first swig, I'm writing it small here. With his first swig, he takes his daily medication. His medicine is safe to take because some stupid commie fought to ensure the safety of that they work as advertised. He prepares his bacon and eggs. Joe's bacon is safe to eat because some girly man liberal fought for laws to regulate the meatpacking industry. In his morning shower, Joe reaches for a shampoo. His bottle is labeled with each ingredient because some crybaby fought for his right to know what he was putting on his body and how much it contained. Joe dresses, walks outside, and takes a deep breath. The air he breathes is clean because some environmentalist wacko fought for laws to stop industries from polluting our air. Joe drives to work in a safe, regulated car because meddling do-gooders fought for more safety features and standard. Joe begins his workday. He has a good job with excellent pay, pension, paternity leave, paid holidays, and sick pay because some union layabout fought and died for these working standards. Joe hurts himself at work, and an ambulance takes him to the emergency. He receives free at-the-point-of-use treatment thanks to some bloody interfering trots who decide to create a national health care service. Joe gets home and relaxes by listening to the radio. The host reminds everyone that socialists are dangerous and conservatives are trustworthy. He never mentions that the conservative have fought against every protection and benefit Joe enjoyed throughout his day. Joe agrees. We don't need big government socialists ruining our lives. After all, I'm a self-made man who believes everyone should take care of themselves just like I have. Joe lives in blissful ignorance.
Yeah, no, that's so true.
That is absolutely true.
It really is. It really is.
I saw that and I said, oh my God, that's just absolutely beautiful. And it speaks volumes to how, and we've said this on the show for the longest time, it's what I've always said, why are people proud to be conservative? Yeah. Every major advancement we have, whether it's minimum wage, rights for women, rights for people of different color or whatever, everything that you think is good in your life, conservatives have fought against tooth and nail, and they've lost every single battle.
Yeah.
So you're conservative. Why exactly?
And they don't get it.
They don't know. They don't get it.
That's the problem. Is they really don't get it.
They don't get it.
Even if you point it out, when they say, "Well, I'm a self-made man," and you go, you
really?
constructed the highways. Mm-hmm. You devised the the signal lights so that everything. Those are the things, and they'll look at you like you're from another planet.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But I wish they'd get it. Come on, conservatives. Listen up.
This is also why that right, even in this election, you're seeing that. I don't know about you. I don't have numbers for this, but it seems to me I get the impression like for every lie you might debunk from a liberal side, you have like 10 you have to debunk from the conservative side. It's outrageously. There's a huge disparity between the two, and they can only get people on emotion. You have to really stir the hatred, stir the fear for the conservatives to come in and say, yeah, you're right. Anyway, moving on. Did you guys hear that there's some federal data in the States that showed that the income inequality is highest that's ever been since in 2018? Damn. And this was 24 hours after Trump said that it was down. The Census Bureau released data on the, I think it's GINI index. The GINI index essentially goes from 0 to 1. 0 being equality for pretty much all, and 1 being a lot of inequality. And right now they stand at 0.485. Ooh. That's 2018. In 1967, for example, it was 0.397. So, yeah, the United States is much more inequality in revenue anyway, in wages and everything.
That's been true for a long time.
It has, but it's getting worse.
Which is why Bernie Sanders got the traction that he did back in 2016, because he hammered and hammered and hammered on that.
Absolutely. Perfect. And here on the local scene, in Abbotsford, Chilliwack, in each October in Abbotsford, Chilliwack, there are a couple of churches that go on and they protest abortion.
Oh.
Well, there's one that kind of went a bit above and beyond.
Yes.
In Chilliwack last week, children were given anti-abortion goodie bags.
Oh no, I did hear about this.
Anti-abortion. I missed this.
There was a parade There was a parade in Rosedale, right?
Okay.
The Rosedale Harvest Festival, and the kids were given little bags containing a plastic fetus and literature directing them to the Chilliwack Pregnancy Care Center. And this was given out to kids like goodie bags.
Yeah, it was so bad. Oh my God.
They're giving, go to the anti-abortion pregnancy office, and you're 10 years old, and you got a goodie bag.
Yes.
Is this a little weird?
It's extremely weird. And people were very upset with that, and rightfully so. I was like, God, this is it's almost Halloween. It's kind of creepy, actually.
Was it Culture Guard that was giving them away?
No, apparently it was from the Chilliwack Pregnancy Care Center themselves. Although they could not be a reach for comment.
Wonder why?
Yeah.
Wonder why? Because a lot of people were just like, oh my God, they were up in arms about this, and of course it's making the tours all over the place, and right here in our.
Well, some idiot thought it was a good idea, and then it's like, oh.
Yeah.
That didn't go over how we planned it.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Get a plastic fetus. That's creepy as hell.
Little baby fetuses.
Like they showed pictures of what the goodie bags were. It was like a little pamphlet thingy, the plastic fetus, and wasn't there like a candy or something in it?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Something. It was just. Like why?
I think I did see that, but went right by it and didn't realize.
It probably did pop up because it popped up a few times through. Popped up.
If you're on my feed on Facebook, you must have seen it because I posted.
Yeah,
that's
probably one place where.
My God, what are you thinking here?
I don't think they're thinking.
I don't think they're thinking either.
This is a total absence of thought.
You'd think if it was April, it's got to be a prank. No. These people are. That's the wrong way to do advertising for your cause.
If you want to help with pregnancy, try handing out maybe condoms instead.
Yeah,
but not to children.
No, you can't do that.
Not to a little 10-year-old.
Condoms are evil, don't you know?
Have you ever seen when they put the condom out the car window?
Yes. We used to, as kids, as teenagers, we used to fill them up, right? And then they become gigantic, of course, with water, right? And then you put it under the blanket, and then you invite your friends, hey, jump on the bed. Yeah, it created a mess. We weren't always nice or good people.
Oh, but it was good fun, I'm sure.
Oh, it was fun for us, that's for sure. My dear Nancy, you got a top 10 for us?
I don't think I can top anything that we've already been talking about. I'll give it a go.
Top 10 uses of condoms.
Top 10, yeah. I obviously missed the boat on that one. Anyway, yeah, this is something that this is sort of a revisiting in a way. But I'm revisiting it because it comes up all the time. And these are 10 of the worst alternative medical treatments.
Oh,
I don't know why. We keep, and so I know none of our listeners fall for these, but they have friends. And I'm hoping, that if any of you hear about anyone thinking about any of these alternative, please rescue them and tell them no. The number 10 on the list. Now, all of these are proponents of natural medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? All of a sudden, my mind is a blank. Poison ivy is natural, but you don't want to sit in a bed of it because it's natural.
The natural fallacy.
Yeah, just because it's natural. It's the word natural seems to be the big hook.
Yeah.
That you're not taking chemotherapy. You're doing something natural, which can be just as bad on you or worse
of course.
than the medical treatment. So they're quacks, these people, which is derived from the Dutch word quacksalver, which means hawker of salves.
Nice.
So same thing. Tim Minchin, who we love, summed it up. He said, "Do you know what they call alternative medicine that's been proven to work?" Medicine.
Exactly.
Anyway, so number 10, this seems to be the standard, Laetrile. Laetrile. You haven't heard of?
No.
Laetrile is a relative of amygdalin, which is a substance found in the pits of apricots and other fruits.
Okay.
And so, as well as almonds. So they've used that in various forms in the treatment of cancer. The problem is, this goes way back to the middle of the 20th century. Anyway, there's this guy whose name was Ernest T. Krebs. You need to be careful of people named Ernest T. Krebs.
Right there.
Nothing good can come from.
That sounds
Ernest
like a
T.
fake
Krebs.
name.
Yeah.
It's like Elmer Fudd.
So, this has been tested and tested and tested and tested, and every test comes out the same. Don't use it. It's not going to work. It's phony. But people who are desperate because it's natural. The problem is that the cancer cells aren't present in regular healthy cells. So the medications that they use are pretty harsh, to try and get rid of them. And so in pushing Laetrile, they say no, it's more natural, it's not as harsh. However, the medication that performs Laetrile consists of cyanide poisoning.
Ugh.
And the cyanide poisoning has been linked to a lot of deaths because of the Laetrile. It's supposedly banned from the U.S., but it has been brought in, and most of the Laetrile clinics now are in Mexico, and people still go to Mexico. And so the chemicals in the pits will turn to not 100%, but it can be deadly.
Wow.
Yeah, I had heard that about like the almonds and like the pits in that. They actually have to wear gloves, I think, to harvest almonds.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, this year I've heard of people that I know going to Mexico and trying some of the no-go. So if anybody mentions Laetrile, it's poison. Don't don't do it. Number 9 is colloidal silver.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, what have you heard about?
People that propose colloidal silver, they basically say it's an antifungal, antibacterial, anti-everything, and
Herpes,
it's great for you.
HIV, all viral infections and so forth. But what it is it's a colloidal substance that consists of microscopic particles, and they're suspended in a liquid, and it's usually taken orally.
Yes.
But some of it can be in salves or injections. The problem is, of course, that colloidal silver can also burn you.
Yes.
And victims have had colloidal silver burns, but there's no benefit to it. They get all the side effects and no benefit.
I also heard that if you take way too much of it, your skin will also turn a kind of bluish color.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yes.
So
you kind of look like a Smurf all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's really weird, and it can also result in kidney damage and neurological problems and so forth.
I in my great shame, I did take some in the past. When I wasn't as much of a skeptic as I am now, but I was always kind of leery about it because the idea of taking, even if it's silver. Yeah. The idea of ingesting a metal just didn't make any sense to me. Even if it's diluted in water and blah, 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 microscope. Ingesting a metal just doesn't seem right.
It just, something in your brain was like,
it's a foreign substance.
Maybe not.
Yeah. So, anyway.
So here's one that may or may not be well known. Yohimbe.
No idea what that is.
It's extracted from the bark of a species of evergreen trees native to Western Africa. It's been a traditional aphrodisiac in Africa, but the experts say it has beneficial antioxidant properties designed to prevent heart attacks. But it can actually lead to medical complications, including increased heart rate, kidney failure. But it's sort of like an exotic substance that was brought over to Europe at the end of the 19th century. And Western medicine at one point used the extract for treating impotence, which was a popular idea until Viagra came about.
I think my rule of thumb is as soon as it says it's an aphrodisiac, that should raise a red flag.
Yeah.
That should raise a red flag right there.
Yeah. So I don't know whether that's illegal in Canada and the States or not, but I know I've run across Yohimbe a couple of times, but don't use it. It goes on the list.
Sounds like the name of a mystical guru. Hey, Yohimbe, how you doing, man?
Yeah, exactly. Here's one that I've never heard of. It's a strange one. I don't know if you have. Aveloz, Aveloz, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it.
Doesn't ring a bell either.
It's an herbal extract. Herbals are one of those things that are trigger words.
Yeah, that's a trigger word.
It's made from the sap of a Brazilian shrub.
Okay.
And it's been around for a long time. 2,500 years ago, practitioners of folk medicine have used it as a remedy, but it has some corrosive properties. It was obscure until the 1980s, but now it's a popular extract. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Either. It can be diluted into water or tea, but it's not really been analyzed really well.
Okay.
It's just people say. The quack say that it can kill tumors if it's taken orally or used on the skin, but it's useless against cancer, and it actually may promote the growth of tumors as well. Wow. So maybe the exotic name, may fool people.
I think a lot, like you said, trigger words are herbal, natural, exotic name. People follow this stuff.
Yeah.
So don't be the sap taking the sap.
Exactly. Number 6 is one that we've talked about from time to time. Colonic irrigation. Weren't there coffee?
Yeah, coffee enemas.
Yeah, things like no. Actually, it goes back to the ancient Egyptians and was just as ineffective then as it is now. But people keep thinking, it cleanses you. It's the cleansing. You want to get rid of all of those nasty, biotic things in your body, and it really doesn't do it. So proponents saying that it detoxifies, cleanses.
That's another buzzword. Detoxify.
Yeah, and during some of the procedures, if they're not done right, if people aren't careful, you can get infections, you can have kidney, liver failures, as well as perforations. People don't often think about the things that can go wrong when it seems, it's so simple, I'll just shove something up my rectum and wow, I'll be cured.
Yeah, it's like hot coffee up your ass.
Hello?
I mean, that should be a red flag right there. No, coffee up my ass.
Coffee's supposed to go in the other end, guys.
That's.
I don't even like coffee to begin with.
Okay.
No, you're weird.
Yeah, number 5 is another one that I'm not familiar with. Geranium, Germanium.
That's one of a flower, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You know that one?
Well, the name is somewhat familiar. The flower is named after the same.
It's sold under a lot of names, including vitamin O.
Vitamin O?
Yeah, it's a metalloid similar to tin or silicon. Talk about silver.
Oh, I think we're thinking of geraniums.
Yes, that's what we're thinking of, geraniums.
Yeah. This is used in fiber optic systems or solar cells.
Yeah, I want to put that in my body.
Yeah, exactly.
Only if I want a cyborg eye.
Hey, it says fiber, right? Fiber optic.
Gotta get your fiber in.
Yeah. So
But abuse now with vitamin O.
Yeah. So this is another cancer cure. A lot of these are the two that seem to pull people in the most are cancer and autism.
Of course.
Those two people are the most desperate.
Yeah, that's where you're going to get it.
Those are the ones that they're targeted. These will cure, and you can't use the word cure because that's illegal unless it actually does cure. So it doesn't help cure cancer, doesn't do anything. So that's another one that people want to steer clear of. This is a really weird one, and I'm going to butcher it. Escharotics, ESCHAROTICS. They're called black or yellow salves. There are a number of different ointments that are made of corrosive, and that's a lovely thing. Corrosive agents which claim to be able to draw out the cancer.
Draw the cancer?
By burning through and destroying it?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not like cancer is like a liquid thing you can just extract like with a syringe.
Yeah, some of them are used for STDs too. So,
Eesh.
they're mostly the salves, and they do little they do little benefit and a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So you want anything now that you know the name, hopefully, and can pronounce it. Cellular medicine, which we know are multivitamins and things like that. Those are the micronutrients that became very popular. And then coming down to number 1, MMS or miracle mineral solutions. Yeah. Those are the ones that are like
say
bleach.
Miracle right there. Right?
Yeah. This is the worst. This is created by a man named Jim Humble. That's a wonderful name for it. Yeah. So anyway, he compared himself to Jesus.
Thank good he's humble.
And what this is, it's a 28% solution of sodium chloride, a compound primarily used in the bleaching and stripping of paper. But this, there have been times in the newspaper over the past several years when you've read of children dying because their parents used a bleach solution.
Yes.
This is what that is.
Oh.
Yeah, isn't that
mostly for autism?
Wasn't that one of those things too that you used to try to inject in your ass? Bleach?
Yeah.
Didn't you do that too for a while there? Was something like that? Like a bleach enema or something like that?
I don't know. I grew up on a farm.
Yeah, but
we didn't have all this weird shit.
Yeah. I mean, this is what the original instructions were, that if you take MMS with an acid like citrus juice, it activates it. Ooh. Unfortunately, it does activate it, but it generates chlorine dioxide, which becomes the bleach. When taken orally, nausea, diarrhea, possibly death.
Yeah.
Anyway, unpleasant subject, but they cause such a lot of harm. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to remind people. Please don't go off the rails and look for something that's being touted as the cure.
Do your research.
Well, it's so easy to fall for this stuff because I think a lot of people are saying stuff like, I used to be one of them. I used to fall for a lot of this stuff, right? To my great shame. And I would say things like, did you know that, for example, the FDA in the United States will come and arrest you if you say that you have oranges and they're the cure for scurvy and only a drug can cure? And I used to actually say these things, right, to my great shame. And to some extent it's right, but You add to that conspiracy theories, and you add to that, errors in science in the past, we all heard, doctors recommend camels, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We all heard that, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, they used to recommend a radioactive pill once in a while and stuff like that. Yeah, medicine and science has made some mistakes in the past, but
of course,
it's easy.
That's how you learn.
Yes, but it's easy for people to list these and develop a mistrust in science, and therefore go for the alternative, which is the alternative cure, saying, but then you come in with a nice story of the Inca Indians of lore used to cultivate this, and they were a healthy society, and people fall for that all the time. And I used to be one of them, to my great shame.
I know, and people don't normally Google, like Laetrile, peer-reviewed,
yes,
or, Laetrile, illegal, or they don't look at those kinds of things.
Yeah.
They're sold by the promises that are made to get over whatever horrible illness or disease that they're going through, and I can understand that. As I say, I've known people, to go to Mexico to do the Laetrile and other natural cures rather than go through chemotherapy, because the side effects of chemotherapy
they're bad.
Are horrible.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
And I spent like for the past 2 weeks now, I've been spending on social media trying to get rid of this one story from Natural News, naturalnews.com, the health ranger guy, that quack. And people are sharing that story left, right, and center about, how the cancer industry, the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want to cure cancer. They prefer to keep patients, treating patients. They have a cure, but they don't want to reveal it. People are sharing that article left, right, and center, under the false impression that cancer is not like a disease. It's not like polio. It's not like a virus. You can't attack it the same way. You can't give it like an injection to cure yourself of cancer.
No.
But this is sheer ignorance on the part of people, plus a combination of mistrust of pharmaceutical industry and capitalistic interest in the industry as well. It's such a complicated study.
It is, because cancer is on the rise.
Yes.
And people distrust the pollutants in the air,
and that's fair.
And different places where they work that they say are cancer producing through the water and through the air. So now they contract cancer, and then they're faced with horrible alternatives, medical alternatives, and it is complicated, and people don't know where to turn, because it's easy. People are already scared, and when you're already afraid of dying, or you're afraid of the side effects of the good medications, at that point, so many are vulnerable to trying anything else. And I can understand that. I truly can.
Yeah, and I can be almost sympathetic for a lot of them, because let's say, for example, I was to be diagnosed with terminal cancer. What do I have to lose? Right? And what do I have to lose to try injecting myself with bee venom or something like that? You have nothing to lose really, except a few bucks.
Mm-hmm. And you look at
you're desperate at that point, right? You'll try anything.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at potentially doing like chemotherapy, if that doesn't work, what is your next step?
Exactly.
So kind of maybe putting that off in a way.
And it is. It's difficult because
you
don't most people don't understand how medications work in order to make a good choice.
Yeah.
And you do have to think, okay, I have nothing to lose, but what if the side effects on the alternative medicine are worse?
Yeah.
And you don't really think about, how am I going to deal with liver damage for the rest of my life because I've taken a chance. So now what are my alternatives?
It's kind of what you have to do is do your research, talk to your doctor. And you have to weigh out the pros and cons, because every medication is going to have pros and cons.
But at the same time, we know that every charlatan around the corner will prey on somebody who's terrified of the prospect of death.
Absolutely.
And will come in and try to sell you some false hope, and they will do that for sure.
And sometimes families, wanting to do the best, will encourage a person to. What have you got to lose? Go ahead and try it.
I mean, if you got like a month left to live, would you not spend every dollar you have to have 2 months? Yeah, you probably would. Just extend it 1 month, right? We would all do that, except for Nancy, of course, because Nancy's immortal, but that's different. All right, moving on.
Spend it living the life that you love.
Yes.
Exactly.
My dear Kirsten, you have another brilliant moment for us?
I do, and it should lighten things up a little.
All right. Brought to you by religion.
All right, so Anyone have an extra $3,000 laying around?
Sure. Let me just pull that out of my sock right now.
Okay, well, anyone want to be more Jesus than Jesus?
More Jesus than Jesus? It's like being Buddha, isn't it?
Yeah.
Almost. Then you should consider buying these customized Nike Air Max 97s, aka Jesus shoes, which include a steel crucifix made of 100% frankincense wool, come with 60cc of holy water from the River Jordan tucked under the sole, and are inscribed with Matthew 14:25, the verse where Jesus supposedly walks on water.
You hold on, you are kidding me, right?
I wish I was.
Frankincense wool and water from what?
Wait a minute.
Okay.
This is going to be the greatest Christmas present ever.
Nike has nothing to do with this.
Oh, thank goodness.
Just getting that out there right now. So you would think people wouldn't be dumb enough to do this.
No, God, no. You would think. I would hope.
But the first batch of these shoes were sold out almost instantly within a week.
How much were they?
$3,000.
Oh, that's right, $3,000. Cheap at the price.
The godly shoes were made by Brooklyn-based product design company MSCHF, which sounds suspiciously like mischief, which created about 24 of the kicks as a way of trolling collab culture. Its head of commerce, Daniel Greenberg, tells the Post, "We were wondering, what would a collab with Jesus Christ look like?" Greenberg says, "As a Jew myself, the only thing I knew was that he walked on water." Give the man credit. He's a Jew selling Jesus to gullible Christians.
I want to see some priest go out there with those shoes and try to walk on water. I want to see that. And of course, he'll probably be eaten by an alligator somewhere. Oh my God. Or we need to see this on an athlete like Tim Tebow, and he tries to score a touchdown and he gets like run over by somebody.
Do they come in all sizes, men's, women's, colors, everything?
I imagine the colors are pretty limited at this point. They've only done about the 24 that have sold out, but like kind of genius on his part in a way. Like $3,000 a pair, made 24, and they sold out almost instantly within the week.
Well, if they're expensive, they have to be great, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can market that so bad. I mean, I don't know where he puts the water in there.
It looks like it's actually like under the sole.
But okay, first of all, there's no way to test that's water from the River Jordan.
Oh God, no!
It's tap water from his sink.
Probably.
Oh no! Oh, I was getting my credit card ready now.
Call now.
And the crucifix that's on them.
Wait, there's more.
Is not like this tiny little charm. Like it's a fair size. Like I swear it's almost as long as my finger.
Wow.
Like it's a fair size crucifix.
So are these online? Is there a waiting list?
Well, I think they're waiting for more to be made.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any left.
Wow.
But
tell us the name one more time, just in case.
They are. Give me a second.
Yeah.
I have to reopen the computer.
You have to reopen
the
computer.
The great thing about these shoes is if you break one of them, you can bury it for 3 days and it comes back.
Well, we do live in British Columbia and it rains, and I'm thinking, these are so practical.
What happens if you get a leak? All you're going to walk around is.
You wear them too long, you get stigmata on the top of your foot, right?
Nike Air Max 97s, which if you've seen actually the pair of shoes I have, I think probably something of a similar style.
I gotta look this up. Nike Air Max 97.
Yeah.
I gotta Google that.
As soon as I win the lottery, I'm buying those shoes.
Nike Air Max 97.
But like that's the original. These are customized versions of those.
Oh, okay. So it's like and I gotta put Jesus in that too, I guess.
Yeah, Jesus shoes.
Jesus. There we go. There were 97 Jesus.
Well, the interesting thing is that these guys devised it, and people actually bought them.
I know.
I mean, it's just a normal shoe. There's just a crucifix on it.
But that makes the difference.
That makes the difference.
That got to make the difference.
Now on sale for $4,000. It's nothing. It's the same shoe, but it's got the crucifix on it.
I know. But like it's a fair size crucifix, hey? Like it's not a tiny little.
No, it's not. Yeah, So your running kind of dangles on the side there. I mean, $4,000. This says $4,000 here on CBS News.
I wonder if Nike can go after them, but it's a customization.
The Air Max 97 goes for like Foot Locker for $235, which is it's already expensive.
But so you're gonna go for a run in these.
If you spend $200 and they sell them for $4,000,
all you're gonna hear
great.
Is you're gonna hear clang 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 clang. You won't be able to sneak up on anyone.
Oh, thank you so much, my dear. That was fun. All right, so let's take a quick pause, and when we come back, we'll be talking to either Sam or Becky or both from Ask an Atheist. So stay with us.
In a world torn apart by a lack of reason,
or lease.
and I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt, and I claim that right.
In the morning. Hi, everybody. This is Robert Stanley from the Right to Reason podcast. And if you subscribe now, you'll get free.
Learn more about the broadcast at therighttoreason.com.
I'm Amy with a Y.
And I'm Amy with an I.
And we're the hosts of Secular Soup, where each week we offer up a bowl of real talk about atheism, feminism, politics, parenting, and whatever else we want to talk about because it's our podcast.
Just listen to what these random dudes are saying about our show.
This is what would happen if Daria and Jane grew up and started a podcast.
So if you like extremely foul-mouthed ladies with opinions, this is the podcast for you.
Grab a bowl and taste the magic. Slurp even this.
I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend. You could cut ties with all the lies that you've been living in. And if you do not want to see me again, I would understand. I would understand.
I know what God wants, and I know what he says in his book. I have access to higher authority. Now, what I'll ask, how does he know that? And by what right does he claim to know the mind of God? And if you were a serious spiritual person, wouldn't you think it was a bit much that someone said they could come before you and tell you what God wanted?
Okay, well, our next guest is Sam Mulvey of Ask an Atheist. He's a radio broadcaster, he's a snappy dresser and a sassy dancer. Sam, thank you so much for joining us at Left of the Valley.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, you might regret this in a few minutes. Sam, for people that might, you've been doing the show for quite a while in Tacoma, Washington there, but for people that might not be familiar with your show, maybe you'd be so kind to give us a quick bio as to who Sam is and how the whole genesis of Ask an Atheist.
Well, I'm Sam. I've been active in the atheism community for, 14 or 15 years. And then I'm originally from Chicago. After moving around the country a bit, I landed here in Tacoma, Washington, where I will never move from again.
Okay,
and
before we go any further, you got to settle this. Does Chicago really have the best pizza?
I have a really... I have a really complex relationship with pizza, and I don't often talk about it because people get I start talking about pizza and people start looking at me like I'm about to drop a manifesto on them or something like that. But so there's two types of pizza in Chicago. There's the Lou Malnati's deep dish pizza, which is the pizza we have when guests are over.
Oh.
Because if that's all we ate, if we all ate deep dish pizza all the time, we'd all be dead of cholesterol poisoning. Because we're talking about 2 inches of cheese, a stratum of sausage, and then a little bit of sauce on top of that. That's a casserole. That's not that's sort of. But I'm quite partial to the other type of pizza that you can get in Chicago. which is a little bit more related to pizza you're familiar with. It's Chicago cracker crust pizza. It's flat. It's cut into squares. It's all about the ingredients. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the one true pizza.
Oh.
And so but I don't mind pizza outside of Chicago. I'm not like a pizza snob. I'm a beer snob, not a pizza snob. And so, but the thing is, it's like there's pizza definition 1, which is the pizza I grew up with, and then there's pizza definition 2, which is pizza everywhere else. And that actually got me into trouble last week because I went to get a pizza up on the mountain, and I got pizza with the dreaded pineapple on it.
But pineapple on pizza is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing on pizza definition 2. It's terrible on pizza definition 1. And so I got it, and we're sitting at the checkout counter, and my friend Sharon's like, "You're getting pineapple on pizza?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not real pizza. It's okay." And oh my god, I just said that to the cashier. I just put my foot in it. I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's like, no, let me give you my manifesto.
Well,
I like this guy already.
Yeah, pineapple on pizza is a thing up here in British Columbia.
Actually, the Hawaiian pizza was actually a Canadian invention, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I've got a funny story about the Hawaiian pizza. Christina once ordered so much pineapple on a pizza, they are actually like, "Are you sure?"
Even up here, there's a limit.
That you want that much pineapple?
Sam, let me challenge you to type number 3. See, I'm French Canadian, and this is the kind of pizza I grew up with. Okay. I don't know how good you are at making your own pizza, but this is my challenge to you.
All right.
Make your dough. Okay, spread your dough normally, deep dish style, right? Mm-hmm. And then you will, instead of a marinara sauce, you will put a spaghetti sauce. You will cook some spaghetti noodles, add that, more spaghetti sauce on top. Then you put your cheese and your topping, throw that in the oven. Ooh. And when it comes out, it's a carb overload, my friend, but you will thank me.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. I am definitely trying that. That sounds great.
I feel like that would be delicious if you could somehow make it like a garlic bread dough.
Oh.
Yeah, garlic. Sort of a garlic butter glaze on the top. Yeah, I can see that. Definitely.
Well, that was all the time we had today. Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us here at
Pizza. I know what we're doing.
But back to the topic at hand. We were talking about Ask an Atheist.
Right. Okay, so quick show bio. We started out as a cable access show on Scan in Seattle. And this was when I was on the board of directors of Seattle Atheists, about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I was always interested in radio, but a lot of us who had gotten together to do sort of an atheist thing were more interested in doing television and kind of wanted to do a show that was a little, sort of inspired by the atheist experience. And so we went along with that. We did that for about 6 months. And the thing is we're talking 2010, and Scan had a sort of legendary reputation in Seattle for being absolutely nuts. It was all conspiracy theory shows or someone who was sort of a nudist or something like that. I was never really clear about that show. And then there was somebody who would just play hardcore porn on Scan. And they were all, and sort of there was this group of people who were on each other's shows, and it was all conspiracies. There's a show literally called Kurt Cobain Was Murdered. Guess what it was about? And one of my favorites, a conspiracy-ish show called All Day Live, and it was none of those things. It was not all day, and it was not live. And so, the 2011 municipal budget comes out, and Seattle needs to make some cuts because of the Great Recession. And they go, well, we can have parks, or we can have hardcore pornography on free-to-air cable television.
Oh.
Let me think about this. Which is getting cut? Scan gets cut. And so 6 months in, we won a ton of awards while we were at Scan. Everybody really liked what we were doing. But cable access is, sort of going the way of the dodo. There's not many cable access channels that have a studio available. And so I decided, well, here's a chance for me to to sort of push sort of a different idea, let's go to commercial radio. Because there's I know some contacts in commercial radio. Commercial radio is something I've always wanted to do. I sound better than I look. And so let's give it a shot. And we ended up at a radio station called KLAY, 1180 AM here in Tacoma. We were there from 2011 until about 2014. That was the only, for a long time, that was the only radio station that was actually pointed at Tacoma, because all the other stations up here can hit Seattle, so they want to go where the money is, which is Seattle. And KLAY didn't really hit Seattle, so it was a Tacoma-focused radio station. It was great. It was super helpful. Just bought by the Catholics. So that radio station is gone. After that, we syndicated to like 3 radio stations for a while, one in Seattle, and then a couple other ones. So I can say in the most crappest version of the phrase, I was once a syndicated talk show host, and that I was on more than one station, but 3. I mean, almost not. And then, about 2016, we went podcast only for a little while. And now, for the last 2 years, we now have 2 low-power FM radio stations here in Tacoma, Radio Tacoma, KTAH, and which I'm the engineer at, and KTQA 95.3, which is the radio station that I run. Or I'm the president of that board. So nice. Now we're on low power FM, which is the project I've been spending a lot of my time on lately when I'm not up the mountain or not on the air. That's what I've been working on, and so that's our sort of new home, and that's the short history of Ask an Atheist. And then once we went to radio, and it was suggested by a former host that we change it to Ask an Atheist with Sam Mulvey, and I did, and I feel like such an egotist whenever I say the name of the show now.
Hey, if you're looking for another show for your radio station, there's a little show called Left in the Valley, by the way. Great people, great hosts.
That conversation was coming, my friend.
So what was the difference in orientation between what you were doing on the radio and when you changed over to do the Ask an Atheist? What kind of evolutions did you go through?
Well, like I said, the original folks who were involved on the show, that's Casey Doran and Mike Gillis, Jeremy Whitten, and myself. They wanted to do a more anchor-style, look at the camera, take phone calls, and discuss news kind of show, which was great. I mean, I had a lot of fun doing it, don't get me wrong. But it was definitely a show in the model of Atheist Experience. And that made sense given the medium. It's a visual medium, so we needed something to show people. So we had clips and all that stuff. When we went to radio, a lot of folks were like, well, I know television, I don't know radio. And so they didn't really know where to take it. And my background, like, I grew up listening to talk radio in Chicago, which is a little bit different than talk radio. At the time, we're talking like 80s, early 90s here, had a very different sort of style to it. It was a bit lower key. It was more conversational. It was a lot more personality.
Let me guess, there's a Type 1 radio and a Type 2 as well. One of them is Deep Dish, and
yeah,
Chicago runs like that.
But like the early, when Jonathan Brandmeier was in Chicago, I was a big fan of Steve and Gary, Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer. And I wanted to do a show like that, which was more personality based and more of a conversation, more of a round table with the listener, just sort of sitting at the table and for technological reasons unable to speak other than through phone calls and email. And so one of my favorite jokes from somebody who I'm sorry, I'm blanking on that. I mean, we started out with there's a lot of stuff that we've always done with the show. We've always talked about current events. We've always talked about we've always responded. We've always taken phone calls. We've always listened to email, all that stuff. But I think the difference is where before it was very serious and anchor driven and sort of educational. We still have that, but what radio has really brought into it is we're able to be funny a little bit more often. We're able to bring a little bit more comedy to it. We talk about ourselves a little bit more, and we're just a conversation that the listener is a part of. So that's sort of, I think that's the major change that's been in.
That's very interesting, because it seems your radio show is doing the same parallel that an atheist does in their own private life. When you come out, you begin as an atheist, often very angry and very pointed to the fact, and then as you kind of ease into it, you integrate more humor, because as the late great Christopher Hitchens would say, humor is the what's that quote I was?
We're both doing it.
We're both doing it. Humor is the best weapon that we have. One of the best weapons that we have against religion, anyway. The emancipation.
That's a really good point, and that is spot on.
It seems like your radio station and your program is doing the same kind of evolution that an individual does in their life.
Yeah, that is spot on. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Sometimes I have a good question.
Yeah.
So, in your political state that the United States are right now, Sam, I mean, are you being positive about the future of atheism, especially in the tenure of what's his name, Mango Mussolini there, Donald Trump, Orange Julius, whatever the president is.
Boy, howdy.
That's a loaded question.
I have been. I'm having a little difficulty interfacing with the atheist community these days, really? I'll admit. But I can't say whether or not that has anything to do necessarily with the community and or with myself. I mean, there's a reason I have to spend a couple months hiding up the mountain every couple of years. Atheism to me is still really important. I find myself, when I was going up the mountain, I was in a pretty bad mood. I'm like, I think I'm done talking about this, and I think I've said all I got to say. But when I come down and I look at my social media and stuff like that, like all my Facebook wall is wall to wall atheists. Like I don't. Mm-hmm. I have to go on other people's walls if I want to pick fights on the internet. But nobody's talking about atheism quite the way we were a few years ago. And in fact, like I always had it in my head that the title of the last show I would do for Ask an Atheist would be Atheism is Bad. Because it felt like from between, say, 2005 to 2010, there was a great social interest in atheism that sort of started petering out, I'd say, around somewhere between 2010 and 2014. Mm-hmm. And then with the election of Trump, everybody's like, okay, we've got more important things to think about. And so everybody's talking about something else, including me. But then I'm taking a step back and I'm looking at things and, well, what's on the docket today? What are we talking about? I mean, other than the impeachment stuff, other than just the procedural stuff, like what are the things that people are championing? What's going on in the Supreme Court right now? What are people talking about there? What subjects are coming up? Mm-hmm. And they're all like the great moral issues of the day that Trump is trying to smokescreen the rest of the country with. Mm-hmm. Are all religiously driven.
Yes, all
of them. And so I find I'm finding it now that I've been up and I've been screaming at my chair. I'm like, I have a lot to say about this subject. And there's still a lot of I'm talking to people. There's still a lot of people who want to talk about this stuff. I think there's just a lack of focus on atheism right now because it seems like other people, or like there's other issues that are more important. But I intend, and I think what we can start doing is seeing atheism and humanism as sort of a foundational basis, sort of a kernel that coalesce all of these other conversations around, and that's sort of. And theoretically, that's what we're doing, but I think we're getting farther and farther away from the core.
They're interconnected, it seems to me, and it seems that no matter how much you try to avoid talking about atheism, it goes back into politics either way. It draws you back in.
Yeah, like one of the things I'm actually working on this piece, and I don't know if I'm going to publish it, but we've always talked about atheism. We talk about atheism as if it's like a single social segment, because there's something that ties us together with atheism. And we're even guilty of talking about it that way on Ask an Atheist. But the fact of the matter is, it's never been a cohesive group. What you don't believe in doesn't really tie you together much in the same way that, say, religion does or Bridge Club does even.
Do you feel it's really because it's not cohesive, or is it because atheism has always been portrayed as the black sheep, as the odd duck, as something apart, and that's essentially that's been propaganda from the religious side? All the atheists are always a minority. We are not. The numbers speak differently.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. Is as atheism as the odd one out, it's always perceived as something different, something outside, and everybody's wrong for the same reason. But that outsider look at atheism has its own attractions to certain populations of people, and and even within atheism, you've got the humanist stuff. You've got people who are atheists for political ideological reasons, and the reasons they're coming to atheism are completely different and don't really mesh in the way that we expect. The only thing we have in common is something we say on the show, is the 2-word definition of atheism: no God.
Yeah. You
don't have God, you're an atheist. That's the beginning and the end of it. Everything else is something else. And so, when we start talking about morality and stuff like that, then personally I have to go into, secular humanism. But somebody who's a socialist or a communist who has some Marxist leaning and believes in the concept of state atheism, they're coming to atheism for a very different reason that has a dogmatic approach that I'm not necessarily going to jive with. And I think that, that we weren't really that cohesive to begin with, and that's actually been a statement I've been like, that's been a part of my argument since the very inception of the show.
Well, first of all, Sam, I might say kudos for you for taking a break and starting with the bottom of the barrel and left of the valley here. So it's nothing but up from there.
I'm having fun.
But maybe a different angle that you can take your show, if I might be so bold to make a suggestion, is from our perspective, from an international perspective, it always seems to me that there are two types of atheism. You have the atheist of what's happening in the States, then you have the atheist worldwide.
Right.
I think there's a lot of stories and fights and little things that happen in the States that the rest of the world doesn't really know about or even care about. But atheism is not just a U.S. phenomenon. Although the U.S. concentrates a lot, we have a tendency to say a lot of Americans are America-centric. They don't really think about what goes on outside of their own walls. And maybe that's where Ask an Atheist can go, if I may be so bold to suggest that.
That's actually, in the last couple years with the election and with this administration, we had kind of fallen behind on it. But we've always been, it was always a focus of ours, is to look beyond the United States. Mm-hmm. We had some folks on from Uganda a few weeks ago. We've often had folks from Canada on. And I try to pay attention to international politics as much as I can, so that I can at least sound like I know what's going on when I'm interviewing somebody. That is something I would definitely like to return to, because you are absolutely right. There's a lot of professional wrestling in American atheism.
Yes, and after all, isn't that one of the mandates of our show, and probably your show as well, is to prove to people that you're not alone, and not just as an American, but as a citizen of the world. You're not alone in your atheism. And there's millions of us all over the globe. So I think a show like yours can really go far in that sense. Perfect. So Sam, aside that. in the years that you've had, I'm sure you have plenty of good interviews. Is there one that really sticks out in your mind? Favorite interview or favorite guests?
Oh, should I? Well, I had Shoot for the Moon. Like, I originally asked, my version of Ask an Atheist actually started out as a show called Part of the Problem. And that's what when I tried to get a show off the ground, I had this sort of like 12 episode prospectus that I dropped on people's laps, about subjects that I thought would be interesting, that were part of my approach to atheism, which I at the time seemed to be a little bit different from what was happening in American atheism. And so, like, going into, like, you know, for example, when we talk about what theory actually means when it comes to creationism versus evolution, instead of talking about the science, let's talk about the linguistics of it all. Because when somebody who's a scientist says theory, they don't mean the same thing as when somebody who doesn't understand science says a theory. And in there, I had the Shoot for the Moon episode, which was who can I interview who would never, ever talk to me in a million years. And top of that list was James Randi. Really? And I interviewed him in 2012.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing... he's a real fun guy to interview.
Oh, well, I actually interviewed him in person myself when he came to Imagine No Religion in Vancouver. Great guy.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I interviewed him on not only was it a fun interview to do, it was also a technical achievement, because this happened to me a lot at KLAY. There was a technical malfunction in the studio.
Always.
Yeah, and so I had to work around it. And like the board op, my show was on Sundays. The engineer isn't there. It's just a board op, and they're like, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, I'll do it. You know, and I'd start jamming wires together. I've been thinking about this wasn't like a person I really wanted to interview, and it didn't go negative, but it was a strange interview. It was when I interviewed Alain de Botton in the early days of the show. He's a philosopher guy, and he was at the time he was pushing the idea of sort of, this is before Sunday Assembly or anything like that, but the idea of atheist cathedrals and churches and stuff like that. But he had a very architectural background, and that ended up being a very strange interview that I kind of enjoyed.
So when you go back to doing the show, if your dream guest, who would that be right now?
Jeez. Well,
tough questions.
Yeah.
I mean, besides us, obviously, you know, Crew of Left of the Valley, absolutely. I'm sure it's in the top 10 for sure, but, you know, somebody maybe less grand than us.
I don't know, because I don't go for, after a while, I stopped going for the big interview and started talking to, and I actually enjoyed a little, like, about authors who've got books out, people who have been involved with, people who are attacked by religious organizations when they try to do good in the world. Those interviews, those are always my favorite interviews, because it feels like we're helping. I don't know if we're actually helping, but it feels like we're helping. Those are nice.
No.
Otherwise, I'd have to get a shovel and dig Christopher Hitchens out.
Oh, yes.
I nodded at him once. That's about as far as I got.
You almost got to meet him in person. That's amazing right there.
Yeah, it was a fan of the show got me, because she couldn't make it. She got me a ticket to see him and Sam Harris versus a conservative rabbi and a reform rabbi in LA. The talk's available on YouTube, and it was when Hitchens was going through chemo, so he looked like death warmed over, but he was still definitely Christopher Hitchens up there.
Yes,
and I got to go to the after party, but he was just swarmed, and I'm like, I'm not going to be a part of that. But he nodded at me, or we nodded. I think I nodded at him. I think he saw me. That's about as far. Like I fanned out about that.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That is very, very cool. Oh man. So Sam, is there any big plans besides that for Ask an Atheist? Where are you guys taking the show at this point?
Well, we're starting to think about what we're going to do for our 10th anniversary, since that's coming up in about 6 months. We started the show in July of 2010. But a lot of my focus right now is building the new home for Ask an Atheist, building KTQA, the radio station, and that takes up a fair chunk of my time. We have all the equipment we need for the studio. We got a great donation of. I have if you look at my house right now, it looks like a partially digested and regurgitated Radio Shack. 5 points. It's got I've got mixers all over the place. I'm looking at 2 48-channel mixers that are about 7 feet long.
Oh my gosh.
I've got microphone processors. We got if you wanted a top-notch, a top-of-the-line radio station circa 1993, I got it. And so I've got all the equipment. What I don't have is a place to put it. And so we've been trying to negotiate for some space here in within the sort of the 10-mile contour of KTQA to put up a studio. We almost had a space that fell through last week, and so now we're looking at some other stuff. Moving back to live radio is the thing. Doing it pre-recorded definitely has its advantages. Mm-hmm. In case you say something you don't like or whatever, or you drop an F-bomb, which definitely happened to us at KLAY, and KLAY didn't have a 7-second dump. And so that was fun.
We've been there.
Yeah, we did a short stint on a little radio station from university called CIVL 101.7, yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Abbotsford is very religious, and they didn't quite like us.
That it is, yeah.
Well, it's a good thing you guys did that before Christina and I got here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I really something about doing live radio really energizes me. And so, the fact that I have to get it right. I have to do it. I have to time it. And the studio here in my house, built out of garbage, was actually originally designed to be for live radio. So all the effects processing and stuff like that happens live. And so I'm really that's sort of the big thing is going back to live radio. It also makes, believe it or not, post-production way easier when you do it live.
Yeah, absolutely. Our show is 90% live, really, as it is. We do minimal editing, and then we upload it. I mean, and people always ask me, when you do live, is it scary or is it thrilling? And I say yes.
Yeah. That's true. Yes. There's one of the worst episodes I ever did was we were doing a debate with P.Z. Myers and Greg Epstein in 2013, and the radio station I was moderating. Everybody else's microphone was off, and the radio station started shutting down. Parts of it were just turning off, and the microphones were dying. The headphone amp started freaking out. The phone system was threatening to reboot, and both of our interviewees were on via phone. And it's and so I tried to get somebody else to tag in, but everybody's like, no, it's not going to work. So I have to ask a question, have other people take notes so that I can ask a follow-up question, jam my headphone on the desk, run into the other room, start slapping buttons and stuff like that. And it's oh God, to kind of reboot the EAS system without taking us offline. And it was just, and you can tell. I ended up heavily editing that before we podcasted it, but I'm not. I'm asking questions using English words, but what do you think about it? And I would forget people's names. It was the worst. It was the worst moment. But it was after it's over and a few years have passed, and it's enough to smooth the rough edges off and make you realize that the people you were interviewing you may not hate you forever. It's kind of thrilling.
Yes.
Yeah, but that time has to pass before it gets from terrorizing to thrilling. You know?
Many sleepless nights.
Yes.
Oh man, Sam. In conclusion, there, what is it that you're hoping that Ask an Atheist does eventually? The day you can say, "Okay, I can retire this piece. I've mission accomplished." What's your end goal?
Well, you see, the whole point about being on radio and being on commercial radio for so long was to get the ideas and the concept of atheists as everyday human beings in the ears of people who would not otherwise pay attention to us. Where with television, yeah, you got channel flipping, but it's cable, and everybody just sort of automatically skips over the cable access channels, especially in Seattle. But with talk radio, you got people listening to, and we're talking about, back in the day when we were on commercial radio, we're talking about AM talk, and AM talk is a very particular market segment. Now it's all sports talk. Sports talk kind of dominates the AM dial because conservative talk, which is what it was at the time, the people who listen to that are aging out, which is a nice way of saying dying. And so we sound like, I have a little bit, I've got a voice that I sound like somebody who might scream about a return to the gold standard into a microphone on an AM radio station. So I sound a little bit like somebody who might be that kind of guy. But then you listen and I start talking about what, the tenets of secular humanism, or why the abortion debate matters to us, and what freedom, what liberty actually means in these contexts. And I'm saying stuff in a milieu they understand, but the content is completely new to them. It sticks in their head. Mm-hmm. And as a result, we would meet people who are like, oh yeah, I'm a truck driver and I just happened to be driving down I-5 and I heard you guys. And so now I'm here to see Shelley Siegel. Like, oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, and so that's what radio means to me. And now that's part of what returning to broadcast means to me. And I would like to see, I've been doing this 10 years. I have no idea how long. Like, every time I think I'm going to get tired of it, I discover 5,000 or 6,000 different other things I can do. But at some point, I would like to pass the show on.
Yeah,
I would like to see Ask an Atheist with somebody else, somebody else's name. And that ultimately is, I'd like to see it live on.
That's a problem, isn't it? Because you're thinking that you're doing this, and eventually you say, well, if somebody can take it off my hands, somebody is even more talented than me. But then it turns out nobody wants to, because everybody says, no, the show's not the same without you.
Yeah, that just happened to me. Is that we had somebody who was thinking about taking on a lot more production duties, who I thought was just phenomenal in front of and behind the microphone, but they just, it's like, I know, I see what you do. I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, okay.
I feel like that's kind of the beauty of it, and like having somebody else come in is like, it's not exactly the same. It kind of becomes what they make it.
Yeah.
So it's got that beginning, but it becomes what the new up and comer makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's already happened on the show because Becky I had to drag Becky into the host chair kicking and screaming.
I know what that's like.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You dropped a grand piano on me. You jumped into the chair right away. You don't know what it's like.
You started it.
She was fine to co-host, but she was always like, no, this is your dream. I don't want to, no. Like, nope, you are doing this. Because she clearly loves she clearly loves it, and so I finally got her working into the sitting on this side of the table, and she's a natural at it, and she has a completely different approach. She's a public school teacher. She's fluent in Spanish, and so we've done a couple Spanish language episodes. and we'd like to do more of those. And she has a where I'm jokey and laughy and hey, how's it going? She's a really good at much better at explaining things and getting on both sides of the issue than I am. She's much better at cold reading than I am, which helps.
You balance each other out.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Sam, the mic's all yours, my friend. Be shameless. Go ahead, plug yourself. If people want to listen more of your wacky adventures and Becky's wacky adventures at Ask an Atheist, where can they find you?
Okay, you can find the two projects I'm working on. You can find us at atheist.radio. That's Ask an Atheist with Sam Mulvey. New episodes posted every Sunday. And our home station, which is a thing that I'm working on right now, you can find us at ktqa.org. That's KTQALP 95.3 FM.
If you'd be so kind, send me those links and I'll put them in the notes of the show.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Sam, before I let you go, I gotta have you say, hi, this is Sam Mulvey of Ask an Atheist, and I took a left at the valley.
Okay. Hi, this is Sam Mulvey of Ask an Atheist, and I took a left at the valley.
Fantastic. And that was Sam Mulvey of Ask an Atheist.
I got a word for him. Enthusiastic.
No kidding.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he is, how do I say that? Yeah, enthusiastic.
Man, that energy just comes across.
Intoxicating, and, you kind of, it's like, you just want to do all this stuff with him, and whatever trip he's taking you on, you just want to join in because he's got energy.
Yeah.
He's got lots of energy. Yeah. That was a great interview.
It was. He's a lot of fun.
And hopefully not the last one with him, and we'll next time we'll also have his co-host, Becky. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So,
and split a pizza.
We'll have to do the pizza. I wonder what's going to happen then, do the whole Chicago edition.
It has to have pineapple.
Pineapple, yeah. We'll have to introduce him to pineapple.
That's good. Thank you so much to Sam Mulvey for joining us on the show. Thank you, ladies, for being with me, and thank you for listening. You can find us at leftatvalley.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, at LATV Podcast. You can send us an email at leftatvalley@outlook.com. Send us your complaints to Nancy on the third floor, but beware the incoming knife. Give us a 5-star review wherever you find us. It helps us. It helps others find the show. And if you want a behind-the-scenes look at all some extra stuff, you have to become a patron, like our friend Freethinker215, and you just go to Patreon/LATV. Okay.
And let me tell you, the Patreon stuff behind the scenes is getting good.
Way more stuff than you expect, actually.
Yeah.
Some sides of us you did not think you'd hear. All right, next week we'll be talking to the guys from Godless Revolution with Dan Ellis. And then, of course, we're closing the end of the month with a Halloween special. We'll be talking campfire stories around the virtual campfire, ghost stories. And in November, we'll have Beelzebub, the horror houses. We'll be talking to him. And, of course, our friend David Fitzgerald.
Horror.
Yes, horror houses. Not whore houses, horror houses. Our friend David Fitzgerald comes back. And we'll also have Jeff Cohen from FAIR talk about bias in media. And we'll also have The Brazen Atheist with Erin Lewis. She used to be a stripper. So that's going to be interesting. And then we got a couple of other things with our friend Del Ray will be coming back soon to talk to us somewhere in the end of November, December. And then, of course, there's going to be Christmas already. Jesus.
Yeah. Oh.
Time just flies. Time just flies.
It is. And really a very, very, very happy Canadian Thanksgiving. You can do Thanksgiving tomorrow or Monday. Your choice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Anything else we need to add to this, ladies?
See you next week.
Enjoy the weather.
Sounds good to me. Until next time.
Science is universal. For you to say that Horus isn't real, but Jesus is, or Zeus, Thor, Mithra, Vishnu, you don't believe in them.
Kevin always asks, so that's a good thing.
Kirsten has a nasty tendency to ask questions about sex and furniture, too.
Excuse me?
Okay. This sounds great.
We only go to IKEA for sexual stimulation. What can I tell you?
You know what? I bet you there's a kink named after that. There's got to be something named after that. Somebody's aroused by furniture, right? That's got to be something, I bet. People are weird.
Save it for the other show, Kevin.
All right. Perfect. Oh, you can see how serious we are.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. Okay.
So much for a wellness break.
Welcome back to Reality, Sam. It's a harsh start right off the bat with us.
You caught us on a real good day.
All right. Okay, let's do this.
Don't wanna affect business, he loves money too much. We know that they love the kids, but how the fuck can we protect them while they planning to molest them? We teaching them to respect them.
Fuck that.
The system is broke down, working backwards, and the only action or tactic I plan to practice now is to attack them. The parties of God's hands are bloodstained, millions of murders by believers, and they're all in God's name. And let me take a sec, don't mean to sound so hateful, but I swear to God, pun intended, I find it disgraceful that many atheists are told to be quiet. You're not alone, speak your mind, time to let it be known. I'm proud to be an atheist, a skeptic, a non-believer, an infidel, a heathen, I call it how I see it. I say it's ignorance and you just call it faith, and unsubstantiated claims, that's something to be ashamed